Welcome to Restorative Yoga. Joining us for our class today is Marty and Sherry sitting behind me. So I want to welcome you to the class and to give you a little bit of information about restorative yoga. We're not going to use a lot of muscular effort. We're going to relax and surrender into the poses. We're going to start with finding a comfortable seat. So you see behind me, Marty is on his mat and Sherry is in the chair. So if sitting flat on the floor or even with a prop on the floor isn't comfortable for you, feel free to grab any chair, something without arms on it so you can move around a little more freely. So for Sherry, when she's sitting in the chair, I want to make sure that she's got her knees right in step with her hips. In other words, no wider, no narrower. Her toes are going to be pointing straight ahead with the ankles right under the knees, and then sitting up tall. And relax the shoulders, right? Relax the hips, relax the face. So for Marty over here, you may not be able to see, he's sitting on a block. You can easily use a blanket, a book. Raising the hips up a little higher than the knees can make sitting on the floor a little more comfortable. And that's the deal here. We want to find a place in the beginning that's comfortable. So your hips can relax, your knees can be easy. The hands can rest someplace that feels natural. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to have your palms up with the fingers touching. If that feels good, do it. If not, be where it feels like the perfect place to be. Bring the shoulders over the hips if they've come forward. Soften the hips. Feel like you're sitting on a couple of cushions rather than a couple of rocks. And then let the shoulders release. Get as much space between the ears and shoulders as possible. And then once you've settled in, close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. Keep the eyes open with a soft gaze, maybe down on the floor in front of you. Whatever's going to bring you to a little more calmer place. And then as you breathe in and out of your nose, take a little time to bring your attention to the breath. Take a little time to make that transition from all the stuff going on in the world around you to inner space. And the breath is a great place to start. It's always with you. So closing the eyes if you're comfortable, breathing through the nose, take a moment. Once you start paying attention to your breath, you'll find that the breath loves getting the attention. It's going to start to get longer. It's going to feel better. So in a few rounds, you want to find a breath that feels very complete and satisfying to you. And then once you're there, to yourself, just do an internal count and see how long your inhale lasts. And then once you've done that, when you exhale, try to make your exhale last twice as long. So it's basically a ratio, 1 to 2, inhale to exhale. And I think it's important to take this moment of transition, give your mind, your body, give yourself a chance to let go of the world for a little while. We're going to try to keep a long breath going. You don't have to worry about the count anymore. We're going to start with opening up the spine. And we're going to start by lying flat on the back. So even if you do decide that you like having the chair for sitting, when you're ready to get down on the mat, so Sherry, you can go ahead and stand up. And we can just put the chair to the side so it's out of the way. Whenever you are working with the chair, though, make sure it's not on anything slippery. So putting it right on the yoga mat is always a good idea. So you guys lay flat on your back. And then you're going to start with your knees bent. And you want to take care when you look at your knees that they're right in line with the hips. So we don't want them any wider, we want them any narrower. So once you've got the spine lengthened, and this is just as long as you can possibly get it, but remember, you're going to be supported by the earth. So stretch it out long and relax with it. And then bring the hands on top of your belly. Maybe go right over your belly button. Beautiful. And as you breathe in and out of your nose, inhale and press the lower back down into the mat. When you inhale, it's almost like you're trying to undo that natural curve of the lower back that tends to curve up towards the front of the body. The inhale is pressing it down into the mat. And then on the exhale, it's going to naturally pick up a little bit. And this is where you really want to pay attention. Notice if the spine doesn't even seem to pick up on your exhale, give it a little help. Use a little effort. Try to bring back the natural curve. If it feels like it gets too curvy, which a lot of people have that problem as well, then back off a little bit. We're trying to bring it back to the natural state. So you take a few rounds, you explore, you experiment with it, and above all, keep it in that feel-good place. Beautiful. So when we come up to seated, we're going to start with just bringing the knees into the chest and give them a big hug. And if you feel like the tailbone is wanting to curl up off the mat, go ahead and emphasize that. Right, give the lower back a nice stretch. Don't lift the head though, maybe. Sherry, just keep the head and neck relaxed. We do enough stress in the neck, right? Let's keep the softness where we can. And then when you're ready to come up to seated, roll to one side. And it doesn't matter which side, whatever one you're comfortable with. Use your hands, press the floor away, and ease up to seated. Sherry's going to use a bolster for this next pose that we do. This is a restorative fish pose. We're going to do a restorative back bend. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can set this. We can go horizontal. We could go vertical. For Sherry, I think we're going to go horizontal. This is a big bolster. I'm going to bring it right into her hips. Now, lay back for me again. Good. Now, let those arms, whoops, come out wide. So here, her head's kind of hanging, right? So I have a block. I'm going to bring this underneath the head. And then can you relax the arms a little bit? Does that feel okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is a little high. So if you're working with a bolster, even couch cushions, and it feels a little high, you could even switch it out. So for Marty, why don't you come down? Now for Marty, we have these lower blankets. So when he comes down, yeah, he's going to have no problem with those shoulders probably dropping all the way down, and then take the arms out into a T position. Yeah, so you can see we're working with the back bend here. We're using the prop to keep the spine in that beautiful curve, but it's effortless. These guys don't have to do any work to maintain the back bend. Now, as you stay here for a few moments, keeping the knees bent will bring a little more relief to the lower back. So if there's any lower back issues, keep the knees bent. But if you feel comfortable straightening out the legs, you can straighten out the legs. And feel free to play here. Don't ever feel stuck. Once you get into the pose, and this is the biggest challenge with restorative yoga, is staying with it, not moving, being in that stillness. But luckily, we have our breath to keep the attention. So when you breathe in and out of your nose, start with focusing the breath right behind your sternum, right behind the breastbone. So you're actually using the breath to emphasize that openness that the prop is giving you. If that feels very satisfying and you like it, stay there. So ideally, we might stay here for another 2 or 3 minutes and just really hang out. And I think if I kept these guys another 2 or 3 minutes, they'd be perfectly happy here. But we're going to move it along a little bit. So when you come out of this, bend your knees if you went to straight legs. And then roll to the side. And again, use your hands, press the floor away, float those shoulders up. And after a back bend, it's going to be really nice to take a twist. So we're starting with a lot of spinal openers. So for Sherry, I'm going to take the bolster, I'm going to move it to a horizontal place, and now I know I want it right next to her hips. Same thing for Marty over here. He's using the blankets right next to the hips. No space between the prop and your body. So from here, sitting, take your feet a little bit wider so you're right at the edges of your mat. And you're going to keep the knees bent about 100 degrees or so. Now from here, let the knees sweep over to the right. Yeah, and then bring that left arm, sweep it all the way around the body to the bolster on the side, right? So all the way around. Yeah, we're doing a twist. Let the hip float up. Let that hip float up even a little bit more. And then plant the hand that you swept over on one side, and then take that right hand, bring it over to the other side. And then once you've got that prop in your sights, I'm going to adjust it for these guys a little bit, you're going to bring the upper body down on the bolster. You're going to rest, in this case, on the right side of the face. So you don't feel like you have to take a face plant in there, right? Give the neck a little rotation. So not only are we getting a beautiful rotation through the spine here, but we're also getting a nice rotation through the neck. And then once you're here, You can make the twist a little bit easier by bringing that top leg a little closer to the bottom if you want to. You can make it a little harder, bring that top leg a little further away from the bottom. So you have complete control over this. And then let the hands relax. So I can see Marty's a little tense with this hand back here. You want to let it relax. And if an arm feels like it's floating, you can always put a block underneath the forearm. And now, right? So we're always looking to get to that place. We're looking for that effortless place to keep the body. So once we have it in this beautiful posture, we can breathe with it. And that's the point, right? To keep the body in the twist, in the back bend, wherever you are, but be able to breathe with it. And just as before, you can breathe wherever you like. Now in twist, I think it's really nice to do deep belly breathing. The belly's very free here. You can inhale and make it really big. You can exhale, empty out as comfortably, as completely, I should say, and as comfortably as you can. And you take a little time. Now, particularly in twist, you might find when you get to that second side, it's a little bit easier, it's a little bit harder. So my suggestion to you when you're practicing on your own is stay a couple more minutes on that side you find a little more challenging. Again, trying to bring balance to the body. So you want to slide your hands underneath the shoulders, press the floor away from you, lift the shoulders up, and at that point, the body knows what it needs to do to untwist, right? You go ahead and have a seat. Beautiful. And then we're going to take it to the other side. So again, with the setup, you've got that prop right into the back of the hips. Right? So there's no space between the prop and the body. The feet are wide. They're definitely wider than your hips. Now we'll go to the left. Let the knees go over to the left and let that hip float up. So as you start to spiral around, we're going to roll right onto that bottom hip. Frame the bolster behind you or the blankets with your hands. So you get those hands on either side and then ease the upper body down. Rest on the side of the face. Relax the arms. So here you'll get a good idea. So for Marty, this arm for some reason tends to float. So something underneath it, and then you can relax the fingers. Yeah. Be in a very effortless place. And then breathe with the pose. And notice how this feels. I tend to think of twist, even though it seems like we are twisting, we're rotating. When we get into supported twists like this, it's more of an unwinding effect of the spine. Your breath is long, it's smooth, you're focusing on what's going on with the body, and those exhales can really bring a sense of release. So think of your inhales as a chance to go in, explore, see what's going on, create a little space, but then let those exhales just soften. And then you just let the world wait for you for a little while. And stay with it. Now, the challenging thing about restorative yoga, and there's a few challenges, but probably the most challenging one for myself is not getting distracted. So you're in this beautiful, comfortable position with the body. It feels so nice. It's easy for the mind to kind of sneak in and say, let's think about this, let's think about that, let me take you here or there. So that's why it's important to stay with the breath. Let it have your attention. Play with the breath. Keep it interesting. Don't let the mind sneak in and draw you away. And even if that should happen, at some point, hopefully, you'll realize it and you'll come back. And the beautiful thing is that the breath will just always be there waiting for you, welcoming you home, right? So don't get frustrated if you keep getting distracted. Just keep coming back and keep coming back. And the more you keep coming back, the longer you're going to stay there. So again, when we come out of this pose, you want to slide the hands under the shoulders. That'll give you a good point to press off, lift the shoulders up, and then untwist the body. Good. Now for the next pose, we're not going to need any props at all. So if you've got something on your mat, you're just going to slip it off. You're going to lie flat on the mat, fully extended. The arms are going to be along the side body, but we want the palms facing in this time, so you're right on those pinkies. Good. And then Activate the feet a little bit so the toes are pointing straight up. Like you don't have to be really muscular here, but we don't want them to be floppy. And then little baby steps with your heels. Walk your feet over to the right. You'll notice the further over to the right that left foot gets, the more you're going to feel the stretch along the outside of the leg into the hip. So we're trying to get as curvy as we can through the lower body. We're going to keep the right arm along the side body, but the left arm, we're going to reach all the way back. Now for some folks, extending the shoulder in this big range of motion just might not be available. You can bend the elbow. That may give you some relief. If it's just not working on any level, you can drape the arm right across the chest and just softly let it rest on the opposite shoulder. So once you're here, we're going to take that right hand and reach it down for the toes and let the shoulders come over. So as you reach, let these shoulders shift over to the right as well. Think about turning your body into the parentheses sign. Sometimes if I'm more poetic, I'll say a crescent moon shape. So that you're getting a beautiful stretch through the entire, in this case, left side of the body. So the more you can reach these fingertips down towards the toes and let it pull the shoulders with it. Like it's okay to move, right? A little bit, yeah. Now, this is great. We have Marty looking straight up. His neck is neutral. And I have Sherry over here looking over to the right. And if you're asking me which one is right, I would say yes. Keeping it neutral is great. When he gets the other side, he's going to stay with this. When Sherry gets the other side, she's going to get another rotation in the neck in the opposite way, staying with the balance. So when you breathe here, you're going to find, I would bet, someplace along this line that feels a little tighter than the other places. For a lot of folks, it might be in the waist, maybe in the shoulder. Some people get it down in the thigh. Again, there's no right or wrong place to feel this, somewhere along the line. And wherever that tighter spot is, that's where I would breathe. Inhale into that spot with the intention of creating space, exploring, seeing what's happening, and then exhale again into that softness. Now, after a few rounds of breath, chances are good, not 100%, but good, that it might feel a little easier. And if it does, you might want to walk that left foot a little bit more to the right. You might want to try to extend the arm a little bit more over. You might want to get a little curvier. But you've got to go by feel. And you've got to go with breath. As you keep the breath going in and out, that's going to give you a lot of valuable information for how the body is feeling. So when we switch over to the other side, we can take whichever arm was reaching back or crossing over, bring it back along the side body. Little baby steps, bring those heels back to center, maybe shift those shoulders back to the middle. And then we go to the other side. So again, little baby steps with the heels over to the left. So get the curve going through the bottom half of the body. And then once you've got that, whichever way the feet are going, that arm's going to stay. The opposite arm is either going to reach over or again, bend the elbow, or maybe go across the chest. And then once you have that, take the arm along the side body, reach it for the toes, bring the upper body into the curve. So again, we're just looking to get as long a line as possible from the outer edge of the foot all the way up to the shoulder. Or if you've got the arm extended, go right through the shoulder, through the elbow, all the way up to those fingertips. Yeah, and relax. Yeah, relax the arm. So that's one of the beautiful things of restorative yoga. Some people have coined the term the yoga of non-doing. It's really challenging to get the body in a position, remain fully conscious without distraction. So this not only is training the body to open up and to release, but it's also training the mind to focus and pay attention. We don't want to think about anything else but what we're doing right now. And what we're doing right now is just breathing with the yoga pose. And that's it. It seems like it should be easy, right? To just lay down or sit down and think of one thing, but it can be quite challenging. Okay, so when we come out of this, we're going to walk those heels back to the center, bring the arm back along the side body, and then bring those knees into the chest, give them a big hug. So good. So coming to seated again, roll to one side and press yourself up to a seat. So for the next pose, we're going to come back to a back bend, and we're going to do a supported bridge pose. So you want to make sure you have a block handy. So Morty, I've got your block right here, and then Sherry, I've got a block for you right here. So first, I'm going to have you guys lay flat on your back. Knees bent, just like we started. Walk those shoulders down, right? Max out the space between the ears and shoulders. Press the feet down, lift the hips, pull the lower back long. Beautiful. Now, once you have that, you're going to press your feet down, lift the hips up as high as you can, grab your block, and put it right underneath your sacrum. So the sacrum is right at the very bottom of the spine, under the lower back. So Marty's got this on the medium setting, and you're going to settle down there. And so does Sherry. Now, this should feel like a back bend. If it doesn't feel like a back bend, these blocks are great. We could go to a higher setting. I don't think, Demar, do you want to try to do that? Now, if you get up on your tippy toes, you can lift the hips a little bit higher. You can get, wow, he's got a nice back bend. So you can bring the block, yeah, now try that. And then let the heels come down. You can always adjust a little bit if you need. So we want to feel like the body is in a nice big back bend, but you don't have to hold it. So it's a little bit more than what we started the class with. Now that we've warmed up the spine, we're getting a little bit deeper with it, and it's breathable. And if at any time it feels like it's getting old, maybe lower a little bit, right? Come out of a pose a little earlier if it's not feeling good. So you have to go by feel. And then breathing here, decide where you want to breathe. Decide where it would benefit you the most. Maybe breathing into that lower back again. Maybe breathing right where that block is. Beautiful. Now, important to note in this pose, and these guys are looking really good, we want to make sure that these toes are pointing straight ahead. And again, when you're in the pose, you're not going to be able to see your feet, so you really got to go by feel. So in the beginning, when you're setting up, it's, you know, look around, make sure you're where you think you are. And then as you get into the pose, make sure that you don't start fidgeting it around. So this is beautiful, right? You can see this beautiful alignment from her hip right to her knee, right down to her ankle, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So when you're ready to come out, bring the hips up off the block and put it on the lowest setting. So it's going to be an easier back bend. Yeah. Now once you get to that lowest setting, bring one knee into your chest, it doesn't matter which one, and send that foot up to the ceiling. Yeah, we're not going to hug it. We're going to try to get it vertical. And then bring the other leg up. So we get both legs vertical. Now, I don't want this to look too challenging. Is this pretty easy for you guys? Yeah. It's what we call supported shoulder stand. So the traditional form of shoulder stand is actually a pretty strenuous pose. A lot of core going on, a lot of shoulder stuff. But here we get the benefit of an inversion. In other words, getting the feet up in the air, but we don't have the stress on the neck. We don't have the stress on the back. So taking a little time to get into the inversion can be so beneficial on so many levels. Just from a physical perspective, think about it. We've just reversed gravity to the legs. Think about how much time we spend sitting and standing all day, how much work the body has to do to get all that blood down there back up through the body to be filtered and, you know, and then coming back through. So here, we're giving the body a break. With inversions, ideally, I would say stay here 20 minutes if you can. Medical science tells us it takes about at least 20 minutes for a complete exchange of fresh blood to happen. Do what you can. For the restorative shoulder stand here, you guys could probably stay as long as you wanted, right? Not much effort. Yeah, pretty easy. Yeah, good stuff. So when you come out of this, one leg at a time, bring one knee down into the chest, step it down to the mat, Bring the other leg down to follow, step it down to the mat, and then press your feet down, slip that block out from underneath you, and then bring the knees into the chest, give yourself a big hug. Now here I would recommend try to peel the bottom of the spine up off the mat. Try to curl up in a little ball. And then if you wanted to, Sherry, before you like this, you can bring the forehead to the knees if that feels good. This is a little bit of core. You can sneak it in. We usually don't do that in restorative, but why not? Or take Marty's lead and just keep that good feeling in the lower back. Good stuff. Okay, so from here, I know we have some straps. So we have some official yoga straps here. You guys can let the feet come back down. If you don't have an official yoga strap, feel free to grab the strap from your robe, a long necktie. That will do. This is your strap, Sherry. And Marty, this is going to be your strap. So we're going to start on the right leg first. And what I want to do is get some props set up on the right side of the body. But this is going to be down here, so we won't block your face again. There you go. And for you, Marty, I'm going to use a block. Now, the props we use for this next pose, we're going to get in some leg stretches. Anything will do, right? Anything that can give you a little bit of height. So lying flat on your back, bring your right knee into your chest. You can keep the knees bent to start. Yeah, bring the right knee into your chest and then loop the strap around the bottom of your right foot. Yeah, and then you've got a long length of strap there. I want you to send that right leg towards straight. Good, and I want you to have a low enough grip on the strap so that the shoulders are relaxed. So you shouldn't feel like you're hunched forward, reaching for it. You've got probably 9 feet of strap. Yeah. As you get the leg straight, I don't want it to be straining or stressful in the beginning. So let me just leave. So even if you have to come here, right, the closer you get to the floor, the easier it's going to be on the muscles. And I want to start easy, right? Start easy. Good. And you straighten out that leg. You can have the leg straight if you want, but you start with the knee bent, yeah, because it'll get better later on. So from here, breathing in and out of your nose. Each exhale, you're just going to move the foot a little closer, like just a little bit. And then inhale into the back of the leg. See how it's feeling. Maybe have a little conversation. And if it tells you that feels pretty good, go deeper. Next exhale, go a little deeper. Take your time with this. There's no rush. Eventually, you're going to breathe yourself into that deep stretch with that leg coming closer with every exhale, inhaling, holding the position, seeing how it feels. And eventually, you'll get to that deep stretch. And once you do, stay with it. Hang out with it for a while. Breathe with it. Notice what happens. So stretching out the back of the leg, and every once in a while just notice, have you started to bend the knee? And if you have, try to get it straight again. If you want a little extra action, maybe flex the foot a little bit more. A little gives a lot, so go slow. Now you can be holding onto the strap with both hands like Sherry is, but relax, right? You don't have to hold on for dear life, right? Whatever's comfortable. Right? Shoulders relaxed though. Remember, minimal effort. Yeah. Okay, so from here, we're going to try to keep the leg that's elevated up where it is and then very slowly crawl that bottom foot towards the front of the mat, bringing that bottom leg towards straight. Take your time. If this leg has to back off a little bit, it's okay. If you can keep it there and kind of back into a deeper stretch, great, right? Either way works. So now we're going to hold on to the strap with the right hand. Right, free up the left. I always think it's a good idea because we want to keep the hips level on the mat to use that hand right on the hip of the straight leg so it doesn't float up as you exhale and sweep the leg out to the right. So here's where these props are going to come in handy. So if you have a prop, the closer you bring it towards the hip, the more support you'll get. So once you've got this, take another opportunity for a neck stretch. Turn and look the opposite way that the leg is going. Now, when you turn the head in these rotations, it's important. You don't want to just roll onto the side of your face. You want to actually turn. You could hear your hair rubbing on the mat. It's a pure rotation in the neck. And if you experiment with this, you'll notice it feels a lot better. And you breathe. So we got into the back of the leg, now we're getting a little more into those inner thigh muscles. If at any time it's too much to straighten the leg and you need a little quick relief, put a little bend in the knee. That'll instantly give you relief. And then back off a little bit. So again, always staying in a place. You want to feel stretchy, even maybe a little uncomfortable, but you want to be supported and it has to be breathable. Now, when you come out of this and you bring that leg to center, use the strap. We just stretch those muscles. We don't want to make them do too much work. Once you've got that leg back to the center, let's bend that left knee again, draw the leg in, and then guide your right ankle over to your left knee and get rid of your strap. Yeah, so it's going to be like you're sitting in a chair cross-legged. Yeah, good. Now from here, whatever foot is up there, you want this foot to be flexed. If you have any knee issues, be very mindful that there's no knee pain, and if there is, back off. And if this doesn't feel comfortable for you, it's okay to skip it if the knee isn't happy. Now from here, we've got the ankle in front of the knee, so Sherry, I'm going to ask you to lift this left foot up, and you're going to reach your right arm right in between the legs and grab behind your knee, and then take your left hand behind the knee as well. And then relax the knee. Now for some folks, reaching for the back of the knee can be a little challenging. You might not be able to do it. And if that's the case, you have your strap right here. Can I give a little demonstration? We can thread the strap behind the knee. We can hold on to either end. Shoulders can relax, and there you go, right? So it's very nice. For some reason, this foot always wants to float, but there's no reason for it. Let the heel come down towards the hip. Yeah, let it relax. Now, breathe into the hip. Inhale for space, exhale for softness. And just see how close you can get that shin in towards your chest. And just like we were doing when we were working with the back of the leg, take your time. Don't go for the deepest place ever. How you doing over here? Okay? All right, and then I wouldn't hold this as long as those other ones, right? It takes a little bit more effort than some of those other poses, so why don't we go ahead and let that left foot come down. Let the right foot come down, back where we started. So whenever you get to this spot, if you want to walk those shoulders down a little bit more, if you want to press the feet down and draw that tailbone down and lengthening out the spine, I would do it, right? It feels too good not to. So we're going to come to the other side. We're going to bring the left knee into the chest. You're going to grab your strap, loop it around the bottom of the foot, and then as that foot presses away and you bring the leg towards straight, start easy. The closer that leg is to the floor, the easier it's going to be. Give yourself enough slack with the strap so the shoulders are relaxed, so you don't want to be reaching forward. It's beautiful. Yeah. And then you breathe with it. And slowly, every exhale, try to bring the leg a little closer. Every inhale, take the time, see how it feels. Eventually getting to that stretchy place. I'll move your prop over for you. So you take a little time, you breathe with the stretch, keep it in that feel-good place, and listen to the signals that the body is giving you. So the messages that the body sends us, we have to be open to them. But if you're spending the time paying attention, you're always going to keep yourself in a good place. The body is never going to want to do anything that's going to hurt itself. So listen to what it's telling you. So have you guys gotten to that deep, stretchy place? Can you go a little deeper? Yeah. So you take those last few breaths, see how deep you can go, and then before you do anything else, make sure the knee isn't bending. These guys are good, right? Straight legs. Maybe flex the foot a little bit more, right? You press the heel away, you get that calf a little bit longer, right? It'll do a lot. And then try to maintain that left leg, and he already went straight. So Sherry, go ahead and walk that right foot straight. So we're going to end up with both legs straight, both feet flexed, but we can relax the hold. We can relax the shoulders. Yeah. Okay, so holding the strap with the left hand, and again, I like to use the free hand on top of that hip so that when the leg sweeps out, it's not going to float up on me. So as the leg sweeps to the left here, again, have your prop ready. The closer the prop is to the hip, there you go, the more support it'll give you. Yeah, so you play with that. You find the perfect place. And once the legs are settled, turn and look to your right. Look the opposite way that that leg is going. And remember, it's not just rolling onto the side of the face. Get that good feeling rotation in the neck. And then breathe here. And we're looking for softness in those inner thigh muscles as they open. We're not pushing, we're not pressing or pulling. It's a very easy opening. We're giving it the time. We're giving it the attention. And we're giving it the breath. So when you bring it up to center, use that strap, draw the leg up. Once you're up there, bend that right knee again, bring the foot just below the hip, the toes are pointing forward, and then guide the ankle over to the knee. And put the strap to the side and just take a moment. And again, it's like you're sitting in a chair cross-legged. It's an ankle to knee position. And whatever foot is up, I want this to be flexed. And I'll tell you, the reason why I want that to be flexed is we're doing a little bit of twist in this knee, not a lot, and it should be fine. But by flexing the foot, we're going to engage the muscles here. We're going to stay with a stable knee joint. Good, now we're going to get into that other hip. So float that right foot up and reach for the back of the knee. Now, Sherry, I think you have pretty open hips. So reach for the back of the knee, draw that shin in. You might even be able to reach in the front of the knee. Yeah, so you can see there's different variations. I had her with the strap on the first side to show, and then relax the shoulders. Oh, yeah. Oh, you see. Okay, back to the back of the knee. There you go. So it's a good thing we have options. Because here, I really want the upper body to be relaxed, right? There's really not much going on in the upper half of the body. All the action is in the hip. So you breathe in that hip, relax the knee. The foot is just going to be really close to that hip. And you breathe. And if it feels good and you want to exhale and bring the shin closer to the chest, you should do that. If you get in a little too close, you back off. You pay attention, you breathe with it, you'll get everything you need. Yeah. The muscles can respond rather quickly in the beginning. But that being said, after some practice, if you feel like maybe you hit a plateau, don't give up. Keep going. Stay with it, right? Work through those plateaus. Have patience. That's beautiful, guys. All right, we're going to let that right foot come down. Bring the left foot down. We're going to take the feet really wide, right to the edges of the mat. And then we call these windshield wipers, so you'll get everything out of the way along the legs. And then just some easy movements. You're going to bring the knees over to one side. Doesn't matter which side you start on. And then you're going to bring them back up to center. And then you're going to bring them to the other side. And you're going to sync up the breath here. So every inhale, let that be where the knees come up to center. Every exhale, let that be bringing the knees over to the side. Get a nice rhythm going with it. Really great. Good. Last round. And you should do this as long as it takes to get those hips happy again. This is after that deep hip stuff, they're gonna love this. Once they feel like they're back, you guys feeling pretty good? Yeah? Okay, so from here, heel toe the feet back to about hip distance apart. Good, arms along the side body, palms are down. On an inhale, reach the hands up to the sky and then all the way back behind you. Try to get a 180-degree arc or as far as you can take it. Good, and then exhale, bring them back up and all the way over to where you started. And just do that 2 more times. Now at home, you could do this as many times as you like. It's a beautiful way to start opening those shoulders. Now these guys are great, right? They're able to make that full 180-degree range of motion. If you can't, go as far as you can and then bring it back. Don't do anything that's going to cause you pain or anything that's going to cause those muscles to react and tighten up. And then bring it back down. Once the hands come back along the side body, we're going to hug those knees into the chest, Roll it over to the side and come up to a seat. Good. Okay, so finding a comfortable seat on your mat, sitting up on something if you need to. Again, if sitting on the mat isn't comfortable in any way, use the chair. And even if sitting cross-legged, and if you're comfortable without anything, that's fine. For some of us, the hips might be great, but the knees might not be so happy. So if the knees seem like they're floating, want a little support, you have your blocks, or you have books, or whatever is handy. A rolled up towel could do the trick. And you can give the knees support, so now you don't have to worry about holding them. Good, so from here, let's bring the arms out wide, palms up. And we're gonna put a slight bend in the elbow. Now from here, as you exhale, we're gonna bring the arms towards the front body and we're gonna turn the tops of the hands towards each other. So they're gonna touch. So see, look how I'm rotating here, Sherry. There you go. And then when you inhale, we're gonna bring the hands away from each other, open up, turn the palms up towards the sky and pull the arms back as far as you can. And then just a couple more times like that. You exhale, we're going shoulder height. We're staying right in this plane of movement. Don't let the elbows or the wrists drop below the shoulders if you can help it. Every exhale, bring it together. Move through those shoulders. Every inhale, make this as big as you can. The shoulder blades are sliding back and forth along the ribs. The attachment of the arm into the shoulder, is rolling around that shoulder joint. So let's do one more. Exhale. And then inhale and go wide. Beautiful. And then exhale and release it down. And then just take a few moments, just roll those shoulders around. So we packed a lot of stuff in today. Feel free to do as much as you can. If you can't get through the whole thing, go as far as you can. And then when you're ready to end, we're going to end in Savasana. So you're going to lay flat on your backs. Now, if lying flat on the back with the legs straight gives the lower back a little crankiness, not so happy, you can put something under the knees. Now, if the lower back is really not happy, get something high. Maybe get a big comforter if you have a big couch cushion. And then bend your knees for me, Sherry. And then actually lift your feet, yeah. And I'm gonna put this right under her knees. Now, the higher I can get the knees, the more relief I'm gonna give to the lower back. So if you need that, take the extra time, a few seconds, and arrange it, right? So it feels comfortable. If the head is not too comfortable just laying flat, Marty, lift your head. You can put a little cushion under there, right? Just give it a little softness. So many different ways to use props. I don't want you to feel limited by what we've done today. Feel free to experiment with them. But when we're in Savasana, it is important that we're balanced. We want the right and left sides doing pretty much the same thing. Ideally, the arms are along the side body, the palms are up. You let the fingers just take their natural curl. The ankles are relaxed, the feet just flop. And the breath gets very light. We're just gonna take a few moments to let the breath get really light. Let the heart rate slow. Let every single muscle in your body relax and come to an easy place. As the muscles start to relax and ease up, you'll find the bones start to separate a little bit, maybe even feel a little softer. And almost inherently in the relaxation, you'll start to feel heavier in the body. Encourage that, give into that. We want to let the body go for a little while, freely. So notice your hands. Make sure you're not holding on to anything. Make sure you're not reaching out. And as you stay in Savasana, you can stay as long as you like. It's an opportunity to cultivate those feelings of inner peace and contentment. So be here for a little while. Experience what it's like to be fully conscious without any problems to solve, without anybody asking you to do anything. Just a real simple state of being. When you're ready to come out of it, go slow. Maybe just start wiggling the fingers and toes. So you guys, maybe start wiggling the fingers and toes. Circle the wrists and the ankles. Start to open up those joints. Move your head around a little bit. Warm up those muscles in the neck. Yeah, get them ready to support the head. And then stretch out through your limbs. Reach the legs long, reach the arms long. But before you decide to make that transition to seated, I would try to get into every nook and cranny. Get it warmed up. Feel the heart rate increasing. Yeah, wiggle it around. Now, when you are ready to make that transition, knees into the chest. Roll to the side. And then using the hands, press the floor away from you, ease up to your seat. And I think it's important to take a few moments, come back to your seat, and you can bring a chair back, right, if you need that. You can set up props if you need that. But I think it's a good idea to take a few moments, sitting up tall with the eyes closed, and just notice how you feel. No expectations, no judgments, just notice the changes. Back to the deep, full breaths. Keep the calm. So all the good stuff that you cultivated on your mat today, don't roll it up and throw it in the closet. Take it out into the world with you. So I like to end with bringing the hands together in front of the hearts. Tall spine, relaxed shoulders and hips. I bow to the light within you from the light within me. Namaste.